Welcome, welcome, beautiful people. It's been a while since I posted on YouTube, but I'm gonna hit it with a bang. The book review of this lovely book, Jospeh Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. From time immemorial, we as a species have told stories, countless stories, myths, dragons, gods, and they have illuminated or inspired our generations from the past to the future. Now, the author of this book, Jospeh Campbell, graduated from Columbia University, and when he was studying mythology, he was a comparative mythologist, by the way. When he was studying, he found that in mythology there were all these patterns that seemed to show what humanity was supposed to do, or not what they were supposed to do, but the myths often acted as guides throughout history and life. Unfortunately, he died in 1987, I believe, but his works are super popular. In fact, many of you who are watching this review might have already seen or read his book, The Hero's Journey, which I believe is the most popular. So now, to dive into the good stuff, I'm going to talk about a lot of the highlights, the general structure of the book, and the lesson at the very end of the book. So, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. It kind of goes over the structure, just like the hero's journey, of what the hero or the main character is supposed to do. Let's just say it's a regular human. Right? You have the beginning. Distraught, disappointed, full of despair, not wanting to get up in the morning. But then one day, the character decides, hey, I'm going to go on a journey. I'm going to go discover what's out there. I'm going to break past my limits. So the character goes on a journey, and at first, there's an initiation or a starting of the trip, which is very difficult because those back home don't want him to go on the journey. Or, in this case, there could be a dragon, an ogre, a spirit, something of that sort. And then once the hero passes that trial, they go on the journey. And as they go on the journey, they go through trials and tribulations and all kinds of issues. And they either reach a ridiculous point of despair, or they say, you know what? I'm going to overcome this trial, and they make it. They almost get there. They have a self-realization point. They get the boon, which is the treasure, and then they attempt, most of the time at least, to bring that treasure to society and, quote, end the journey. Now, when they end the journey, well, so to speak, when they get back, it's not always great. Oftentimes they are a hero, they are a martyr, they are a saint, a healer, a warrior who contributes to the betterment of society. However, sometimes they come back as a tyrant and take over society, but those are just a few of the stories compared to the overall good ones. And so that's the general structure, from beginning to the middle, grabbing the treasure, and then ending. And Jospeh Campbell saw that this was important for society, that each of us as individuals should go on this journey, or has to go on a journey. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you leave and go to every single country in the world and try all the hardest things in every country. It doesn't mean you have to do anything grand, but it's often a symbol for the fact that we're going to have trials. We're going to have things that challenge our thinking. We're going to have things that push us back. We're going to have things that make us angry and perhaps suffer. But each and every single one of us has the opportunity to overcome these trials. And so this book basically recounts that, and it uses a narrative or a wide variety of stories, from the Greek gods, from Tiamat and Marduk, the Sumerian mythology, Shinto stories and philosophy, Confucian philosophies, a wide cast of characters. So many stories are packed into this book you can't even imagine. And so those of you who are studying myths or get super juiced and psyched, you're gonna love it. Some of you might get caught off guard a little bit because there are many, many stories. Some of them are a little bit long, I would say, but they definitely hammer down his point. And so that's a beautiful thing. It's rich. Jospeh Campbell himself, a wonderful writer, great vocabulary usage, paints an entire picture of our mythological history. Now, as far as highlights in the book itself, the way he uses stories, for example, in the initiation portion of the book, which is right before the character gets the treasure, he discusses a Zen koan, or a story, by the Zen master Bodhidharma. A pupil came up to Bodhidharma and asked Bodhidharma if he could pacify or cure his mind. And Bodhidharma replied, "No. What is there to pacify? Bring it out. Please bring it out for me." And the Zen pupil was a little confused, but at that moment, he was enlightened. Just that Zen tale right there showing how the character comes to a point where they discover the very thing they need to access the treasure. And then, interestingly, he uses also the usage of a wide variety. He uses Pueblo Indian mythology. He uses Shinto mythology. He uses Norse mythology. He uses, gosh, it's a wide range. It's the entire world. I don't think there was a region that he left out. So for those of you who want a very wholesome view, Jospeh Campbell brings it right to you. And then the sequence from beginning to end is very clear. You will not be confused at all with the way he writes. Then I finally come to the treasure, so to speak, the boon, the lesson at the very end. And at the very end, he goes into this idea of what mythology has been thought about, right? That mythology encompasses many viewpoints and many thoughts from so many people. But interestingly, in the end, he mentions that coming up, there is going to be a crisis of meaning, a crisis of spiritual or myth for all of humanity. In the past, we had these myths to guide us. Now we live in an era where it seems like all those stories were a lie. It seems like there was really no point. We've got our phones. We've got all kinds of technology. Why go back to the myth? In fact, the book was written before this, but this could even point to the future of AI technology being the meaning for all of us. And that's kind of where he leaves it. He says that each individual needs to go on a journey. We shouldn't let society dictate what we're going to do. Society doesn't need to make us the hero. We need to make ourselves the hero. We need to bring that meaning. We need to bring lessons to society to create these myths for a potential crisis, as Jospeh Campbell states. And to me, if I was to give it a rating, 9 out of 10. It was wonderful from beginning to end. I was spellbound by the book. I wish the man were alive today because, quite frankly, I would be shaking his hand over and over and over and over again. Great stories, great historical context, simple lessons. The only reason I don't give it a perfect 10 out of 10 is because the stories can be overwhelming at times because sometimes it goes one story, then another story, then another story, then another story, and it doesn't give you breathing room in certain parts. So, clear that up, simplify the stories, and it'd be a perfect 10 out of 10. And I agree with George Lucas. I think this book right here, definitely a foundational book for anyone who's looking to expand their boundaries and perhaps become the hero that they want to be. Thank you for watching this review, whether you watched 1 second or all 10 plus minutes of it. Please subscribe or leave a comment. Please let me know. I need to improve on this. I love giving reviews. I'm going to start going back and being more consistent on this. I appreciate all you viewers. Eternal gratitude to all of you. And until next time, guys, have a good one.